Oh, hey. I know we did a studio tour recently, and I thought, honestly, there's too many cool studios in the city to only do one, so let's do another one. This one's really special to me, and you'll know why pretty soon. But this one is, I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. Is that going to work? Yeah. This one's Cardinal Song. This is a really cool studio that my new friend, Michael Trepagnier, built. Trepagnier's worked with some big names. No big deal. You know, it's cool. It's cool when people have done cool work with and for cool people. Man, this place, I don't know, man. This place is just rad. This is just so rad. If I'm not careful, I'm gonna spill the beans. It's just like, it's a cool studio. What are you gonna do? I just want to go see a cool studio. Do you want to see a cool studio? I don't know. Do you like cool gear? Yeah, I like cool gear. Only one regret about this, and it's that I guess there's two regrets. He's got an amazing mic locker, and he's got this really cool, like, imagine like a chest of drawers, but for guitars. And there fits 2 per. Anyways, I'll get into that. I'm gonna be there a lot. I'm gonna round back. I'll round back and do something cool. I know I haven't been around much on the old YouTube, but I've been up to other things. But I've got a lot of videos in the works. So stay tuned. Hit like, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at Aaron Newberry, where I post pretty much daily, at least every other day. Anyways, less talk, more rock. Let's get to it. Let's go see this amazingly cool studio. Okay, goodbye. Today we were with the one and only Michael Trepagnier. Michael, great to see you, man.
Good to see you, buddy.
This is actually the first time
in person.
Yeah, we've met in person.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've been dying to see this space.
I'm so excited
We were talking beforehand, obviously, and you were kind of giving me a little background. I was like, wait, let's get it on camera. You were telling me these amazing stories, and I'm like, okay, we gotta get rolling. This is good stuff.
Good.
So thanks for letting us come into your space today.
Thank you so much for being here.
What do we got here? What's going on?
This is Cardinal Song. This is the studio we spent the last couple of years building. Yeah.
I was watching it was mostly, I think, on your Instagram.
Okay.
You were doing updates pretty consistently. Right. And one of the things that I was most impressed with was the woodworking that you were doing. Yeah. And you told me that you built a lot of the stuff with your dad.
I did, yeah.
So that, to me, is like something that's really special about a studio that you get to live in day out. Yeah. But how did this all come to be?
The physical space, or just conceptually? I mean, the physical space is kind of wacky. So we knew the person who lived here before they died, So my dad's office is actually right down the street. So he's actually next door to us. But so when Mr. Barber, who's the gentleman who owned this property, he was like one of the first cats out here. Like, nothing was around at the point, and I think it was in like mid-60s or something like that. And he just kind of homesteaded out here and raised his kids. And I think he was out here by himself till he was 93.
Wow.
It was wild. So he had this house, this really, really super messed up house that, the initial idea was like, maybe we'll build that house out enough to work in there. Or maybe we have these barns in the back, that maybe we could repurpose those. So it was kind of trying to figure out what that was and kind of what it could be. And so, I don't know, we ended up kind of pricing out how to do all of it. Like, okay, if we have to completely redo the barns, what does that cost? And is that the studio? Or if we have to redo the house, what is that? And then we realized it costs the same to just build a spot.
Yeah.
So we ended up kind of figuring out what that would be, and with literally just squares of paper, moving them around to figure out how the layout would be. And then that's where it started.
Yeah.
And we just started the conversation with the contractor, and that's kind of how it all came to be. So we knocked down the house that's out there. And you'll notice when you leave, there's like this, it looks like a storm shelter because it is, but just popped out of the ground. Mm-hmm. So eventually we're going to put the echo chamber down there. So actually, we've run all this stuff, but we haven't figured out how to dehumidify it enough to keep it safe for all the equipment. So that'll be really cool to have like an echo chamber. It's crazy. It's a fallout shelter. It's way down there and it's really huge.
Did you run like PVC and then?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, Ethernet. So the whole Dante network will connect via out there.
That's too cool.
Yeah, it's super cool.
See, stuff like that, Jaron has the gel cell out
exactly.
in Marlow.
Yeah.
I just think that stuff is so rad.
It's so cool. And it's not hard to expand to that thing if you just are thinking, 2-3 steps in front of it. Yeah.
Well, there's obviously resourcefulness seems to be a pretty consistent theme of this whole place.
Probably, yeah.
And for context, we are just on the outskirts of Oklahoma City, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally right there.
Yeah, so this is technically Bethany, though, right?
It was technically Oklahoma City.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so we have in Oklahoma City, we're we're part of the Oklahoma City limits, but we have a Yukon address, which doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So, and it confuses everybody. They're like, you're in Yukon? I'm like, no, we're not in Yukon.
Yeah.
Everybody slow down.
OKC, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you do the whole, like, did you do like floating floors and air gaps and all that?
We did air gaps. We didn't do floating floors we hired an acoustician to kind of talk us through some of the basic like building stuff. And with as much space and as isolated as we are from everything, we decided to not float them and just to go straight wood on concrete.
Yeah.
And, because once you float it, now you have to deal with that as a resonant substrate. And it just makes 2 or 3 other layers of having to manage your frequency in there. So.
Yeah, and I could see why you wouldn't even need it being so far off the road, and you don't really have neighbors, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah, so we were able to kind of take advantage of where we are in space and time and do that. Yeah.
So one understated aspect to most studios is the hangout area, which is what we are in right now.
Exactly.
So if you got this kind of all-in-one, you even have a full bath.
2. Yeah, well, we have 2 baths. I guess it's a half because it doesn't have a shower.
Legit.
But yeah, sorry. This was a huge part of it. So when talking about the layout, like I said, we're out there with squares and just trying to figure out how it looks. So the studio I kind of came up in New York City was called the Looking Glass Studios. And it was like a shotgun sort of like building where you've got an entry on one side and exit all the way at the back end, and then everything branched off of that. And so in the center where Studio A and B met, there was this, it was maybe this big, but it was a hang area. So anybody coming out of B would see A, and it was just this like mix of things. Mm-hmm. And it really informed a lot of, I guess, my ideas on just meeting people and creativity and, just interaction. So when we planned this, that was a huge part. The hang was as important, if not more important, than the actual acoustic spaces, right?
Yeah.
So this is actually Studio B. There's nothing in there yet, but that's the proposed next build out. So A and B meet into this place. There's chairs, there's everything, And again, like seeing other studios, like Sonic Ranch, for instance. Like, have you been to Sonic yet?
I haven't been. My God, that would be a dream.
You got to go. So there's.
That's in El Paso?
It's in El Paso.
Yeah.
So like there's this hang area, which is the hacienda, which is everything kind of opens up into the hacienda. And every morning you go to breakfast, and the women who work on the property, they also cook and they make this amazing salsa. I mean, anybody who's been there will talk about the salsa. But everyone shows up and has breakfast together. And like there's something to be said about just people getting into a space and just going like, cool, what are we working on today?
This is something that I've kind of always wondered about, like Shangri-La. Yeah. Rick Rubin's spot. Yeah. Like it seems like almost like a mecca. Yeah. And when somebody was explaining Sonic Ranch to me, I was like, oh my God, that sounds...
It's like that.
Because like imagine, you wake up in the morning, you go to breakfast, and you see these 7, 8, 9 other artists that are working on there. Right. There's this like...
Yeah, it's like, what are you working on?
Right.
And we're doing this thing, and it's cool.
The availability for potential collaboration, or just like people have like energies and like you just kind of vibe off of one another. I know it sounds kind of esoteric, but I really believe it.
No, it's totally real.
So the thought that you put into this is like,
well, thank you very much.
Major applause, and I'm kind of salivating over the wall of amps here.
The wall of crazy.
What do you got? I see we got most of your stuff's original, I'm assuming. Like OG throwback, like.
Yeah, I mean that Supro isn't. That's the Robert Keeley one.
Ooh, nice.
Which is a specialty.
All around over here.
The Princeton is, it's a silver face, but it's a wonderful silver face. These are both vintage champs, a champ or a vibro.
You got 2, nice.
Yeah, they're small enough you can kind of double them up. This is newer, but this is newer.
I think I have one of these. Yeah, my buddy Charlie's letting me. Does this one have the built-in attenuator? Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's a cool feature.
It's really nice. So, and they were really, really sweet to me. They screwed up the order when I ordered it, and then it's weird. Like it never showed up, and I was like, "Hey guys," and then they overnighted something, and they were really wonderful to work with. I don't think they're around anymore. It's really sad.
I'd never heard of them until recently.
Yeah,
so
they were just kind of doing their thing on Reverb for a minute, and yeah, it's really sad. I like their products, like this crazy wood grain look. Like it's just cool.
Well, it's good to know that I've got something that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that's a newer one. That was what I used when playing out with the band I'm in.
Cool.
And so it doesn't really get used that much. The like the proper ampegs in there with the SVT and
right on.
The shit that never gets turned on because who needs it? The Analog Outfitters. This is really cool. this little thing, this little Davis amp is wonderful and it's wacky. But yeah, everything is more or less.
Some vibe pieces. Is this a real?
Yeah,
is that the guy that's inside?
Yeah, exactly.
In there?
Yeah.
Well, you want to show me into
the
central command or whatever you want to call it?
control room.
The control room.
Or whatever.
Which is, my gosh, just wow. It's just, when you walk in here, in my opinion, the first thing I think is just like craftsmanship.
Oh, well,
it's
thank
so
you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
From the desk to the layout, it's so much to take in, and then I'm like salivating over every piece. The ATCs.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, CM25s. Yeah,
Gosh.
they're wonderful. Yeah, and I kind of stumbled into the ATC thing with, I was working, I don't know if you've been downtown to Stowaway Studios yet.
I'm trying to get in. I've been texting with him so that I can try to get a space, or a tour of his space.
Absolutely, and it's wonderful. And so he's got a set of the bigger ATCs, the 45s, the SCM45s, I think. And I made a couple records there, and I was just like, geez, these things are incredible.
Yeah.
So ended up kind of getting the little kid brother of them, and just absolutely adore them. So they're running through a Trenov ST2, like doing some additional correction in here.
Do you have the mic up all the time, or is it just
No, once
you
I've
tune
impulsed it,
and
yeah,
then, cool.
that's it.
That mic is nuts.
Yeah, a little 3D mic.
It's really
super cool.
Really cool looking.
Yeah, so I mean, as much time as we spent on getting the acoustics right in here, there's just certain things that it does, like the phase correction stuff, where it takes into account everything and gets the phase perfect right here. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was. I didn't want to like it as much as I loved it. You know, because it's really expensive.
Yeah,
but then you go like, okay,
huge,
well, that just changed everything.
It's a big cost. I do SonarWorks because I'm not quite to the Trenov level.
But still, like SonarWorks is super cool. Cool. I can't use it because we're doing so much outboard.
Yeah.
Like in analog workflow, it doesn't do me any good because it's running as a plug-in to the.
Right.
So I couldn't use it.
Which is it's great and it's not.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's a super cool piece of software. Both systems do amazing things. So yeah, it's really, really cool.
And this is obviously the 1608. This is
1608 is great.
Gorgeous. So for those who don't know anything about this, tell me more.
So it's an API 1608. It's kind of, well, until recently with was the 24 or 48 or whatever the new one is. I think came out last year. I can't remember. This was kind of the flagship thing, and then they came out with a Mark II. I think last year or the year before as well. But it's awesome. It's just this little powerhouse 16 channel guy. Like this, I again didn't want to love it as much as I love it. It's just so amazing because there's nothing in the way. It's just mic amp, fader, EQ out.
Yeah.
Like, and you've got all the sends and stuff, but it's like for tracking, it's just so fast. Like it's one of the fastest boards I've worked on.
That's awesome.
And I just absolutely adore it. And we got the fancy pants one with the automation controller and blah, 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 blah. So
I was noticing that. One thing I've got to point out, you have this like unbelievably immaculate and relatively expensive board, and then you've got 4 DIY pre's.
Oh, dude, I'm a huge fan, and right over here too. I've got the color palettes. Like I'm such a huge fan of the DIY RE guys. They like Peterson makes
cool
amazing stuff.
They're so cheap too. So you build them yourself, right?
Yeah, of course.
You get them in, and you build them yourself.
Yeah.
That's a hack for anybody that doesn't know. This
they're $175. Yeah, DIY recording equipment.
Yeah, DIY recording.
This is $175, and then I put the $25. Well, it's now I think $35 because they did the Mark II. But the
op amps or
no, there's 2 more. The 15 EPs.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's right.
I love this card. It's so cool. And then I have op amp cards in here too. So, and I've been building a lot of op amps just for like weird colors and things like that. So yeah, these things are awesome.
So what do you like about them so much? Why are you such a huge fan?
One, the cost to get in is really low. And I think and for people who are into the DIY thing, I don't know how into it you are, but I love soldering and I love just getting into making stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, is it the cleanest, largest headroom mic amp I have? No. But is it a perfectly wonderful mic amp? Yeah.
Boom.
And I get the color thing, so I can actually like distort things on the way in a different way. And so I also have a couple these Cranborn audio. Camden is the model, but similar vibe. And
are these build your own?
Those are not DIY, but they're also relatively inexpensive. I want to say they were $325 each.
Yeah.
And they just did something different, so I pulled these 2 just to check them out, and I've been really happy with them too. So the idea of I like to color as much as I can going in, so Yeah, whether it's the APIs or one of these or the Camdens or the Chandlers, I always want something with a little vibe going in. So yeah, it's important to my workflow.
Yeah, the more I'm in here, the more I think like your middle name must be Vibe. Because there's so many. So does this 500 area, does it come just open and ready for you to stick what you want into
it? Depends on how you buy it, but this is the stock. Like it comes with the 550s and the 560s, depending on how you kit it out. We bought this used, so he had it kitted with 12 and 4, and I've really fallen in love with these 560s. So I actually want to split it like 8 and 8. It's just they're really, really cool. So this part is always going to lines up with the channel strips. That's there. These 8 you can populate yourself. That's cool. And those show up on the patch bay as a separate thing. So they're just external points, more or less.
Is the Smart on your master bus?
Yeah.
That's a wonderful.
I love that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the things that I love are in theory that I've used with other people because I don't have them. Because my workflow is largely in the box.
Right.
And I use that as a basically a means to say I don't quite have the money for stuff like that just yet, but hopefully one day.
Well, all in due time.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so many great options. It's like I'm using less and less of all this cool stuff on mix because I'm getting it now on the back end, where it's like, and the plugins are sounding good enough, and yeah, there's just really wonderful things out there these days. Back 10 years ago, there wasn't.
Yeah.
Plugins
have come a long way.
Come a really long way. DSP processing has come a super long way.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, so I've really started to embrace the DSP side of all of what our industry is doing, especially on the mix side. It just makes the recall so much faster. Yeah.
I was talking to people about the necessity of recall, especially like when I'm working in these. If I do a feature film, that's like an hour and a half.
Oh yeah.
And I don't want to have to. The work that it would take me to keep track of doing stuff that was like.
Or you got to print
analog.
stems for everything.
Stems.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think for tracking like my music that's non-related to film, I think I do want more of this in my life.
It helps going in because then I don't have to do as much on the back end.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
the thing for me. It's like it's managing transients and managing those things. It's like I don't want to do that. I especially don't love managing transients with DSP, but it's otherwise. I'm like, there's so many wonderful plugins. There's so much cool shit happening.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
I wonder who's going to be like, what do you mean managing transients? Yeah. We won't get into
the
it.
comments section.
Yeah, you can just Google it.
Yeah.
I have another curiousness. Sure. How are you using the RedNet stuff?
So that's the whole Dante thing. So the headphone system's on Dante, which has simplified a lot of workflow issues. So I can do all the routing out of Pro Tools now. Let's see what else is on Dante. The Creation Station keyboard world. That's all on Dante. So this whole thing's crazy. All these keyboards route to this one mixer, and it's controlled from this one particular keyboard. So if I hit one note or multiple notes, it goes to all the keyboards, and I can submix it here.
What kind of mixer is that?
It's just a piece of shit Alesis.
I thought so. I was like, interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, shit choice.
Just for stuff to.
Yeah, so it all just sums at that spot, and then as well as I use Ableton here usually for sound creation as well. So the DAW then exports to that as well. And so you can kind of get these crazy sounds and this whole thing in one spot. But that's hooked up on Dante. So there's one Ethernet cable that runs back over here.
That's legit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to see this guy.
Dude, those things are awesome.
They're so
They're
cheap.
so cool. And they sound incredible.
That's what I've heard. They just, I thought about buying there's 4 of them, I think?
Yeah, there's the CP,
the
the
DX7.
CS, and a couple others.
Yeah.
But they're awesome, and they're $300.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, that's this wacky world, but that's on Dante. Let's see, like I said, the echo chamber will end up being on Dante, and then all the rooms will be connected via Dante as well. So that's kind of cool, where you can share stuff back and forth with almost no latency. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
It's the way of the future.
There's a lot to cover in here, and I don't want to move on too quickly because I do have questions regarding the build. Since you got to build the studio,
I did.
I notice, are these walls parallel?
These walls are parallel. Yeah.
So you chose to go with that and then just treat the room.
Treat the room.
Versus like make the room a thing and then.
Well, the cost to do it. This is that thing. It's like I'll never recoup that.
Yeah.
Ever, ever, ever. And I can absolutely tame those things in here with just a little bit of ingenuity.
Yeah.
So, and this back wall, it's 12 inches deep of insulation, and including the diffuser and everything
Yeah,
else.
I've noticed these are There's a lot going on back here.
There's a lot going on back there. So we got a minimum of 4 inches of trapping back there all the way around, and then there's the tuned traps that run all the way across the top and the sides. Those ones are tuned, and we're doing a lot of this back wall, and it's parallel, but so what?
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's like we can get into the minutia of talking about STC levels and all this other stuff, decay times, and I just don't.
I wonder.
The money doesn't work out.
I wonder what the ROI is when I think about those types of things.
Yeah.
So.
And it sounds good in here. It really does sound good in here. We have wonderful speakers. They're also, the room sounds nice. They're also being managed from a DSP perspective back here as well with the Trinom. So the $5,000 that I spent on that is, I could have put that $5,000 into this room, but the cool thing about the Trinom is I can walk into any room, impulse, boom. I'm back to where I was.
Yeah.
And so that to me shakes out in the long run differently. And I'm sure there's going to be some flame on that, but it's like I don't really give a shit.
Yeah.
It's one of those, it's the space, and the space works great, and it's fine.
Well, you've obviously got a wonderful setup going on in here, and I think if it were me, I get lost on the forums thinking about stuff like that, and I'm just like, the truth of the matter is, I'm probably going to end up in like a 2-car garage,
Everybody is now.
Yeah.
It's like, what music from Big Pink was made in Sammy Davis Jr.'s pool house.
Yeah.
Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's like great music and great creativity comes from anywhere, and it doesn't really matter how you manage it. I just don't get it. I don't get the audiophile thing. As an engineer, I hate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just hate it. So I'm not going to be overly precious about anything.
I like that. I like that a lot because I think I don't have an enormous, subscription group here, but I think most people are working in their bedrooms,
absolutely,
and working in their sheds and their garages, and I think there's a lot to be said about the non-studio studio these days.
But that's where it's all coming from. Like,
right.
What am I going to tell some kid who's making some amazing music in his bedroom it's not good enough?
Right.
It is.
Yeah.
And maybe you're not in the best acoustic environment, but you pay people to be in those places, or you come into those places.
Right.
Being an asset to all of those different types of workflows is for me, it's the only way forward.
Yeah. And there is something to be said, when I think about creating something in my space, I usually want someone else's ears on my mix anyway.
Yeah.
And so I would be a lot more likely to track my whole record at home and then bring it here and have it mixed, not only with somebody I enjoy, but also in a space that's it just is better than mine. You've tuned your room in a way that you've got a better playback system.
It's just more revealing.
Yeah, and you've got, years of experience, and you have a different perspective.
Sure.
Which is, I think, really valuable on top of the fact that you've been doing this for quite some time.
Sure.
Really quickly, what's the Sonnet down there? What are you doing with the Sonnet?
The Sonnet is it's just the Pro Tools chassis, so it's got the HD card in it.
Okay, cool.
That's it. It also has an extra PCI slot where I've got hard drives.
Rad. I was just super curious.
No. It's a good question. I got real nerdy and my backup system showed up today. So all these little hard drives and a little hard drive bay.
Dude, how many hard drives do you think you own?
Over the history?
Sure, yeah.
A lot.
I think I counted 17.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because I think you own less and less as time goes by because they get bigger.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just doing solid states anymore. So it's I'm only really maxing out at a terabyte just because spending the money for a 4 terabyte, I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's too much money for a hard drive. And if it fails, I don't want to have that much stuff on it.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm going to split the difference here. I'm going to go over here.
Yeah.
Because I do want to check out some stuff that we've got going on. We've got a little modular setup going here, right?
Yeah, this is all the modular effects. So I can run those, and this is, my buddy Brian Bender has got me hip to so many things, and this one module was so it does the conversion from line level to modular level for you. So you can do all of your modular stuff in and out that way. So that shows up on the bay.
Do you have it go? Wow.
Yeah, so I can just go from the bay to anything on that and then bring it back, and that one module does all the conversion for me as far as the voltage levels.
It's really cool.
It makes it really smart because now all these things I can use, in a different sort of way.
So you could technically very easily with just patching, you could take a vocal in Pro Tools and run it through all of that.
Yeah, or I
So
can
cool.
grab that modular guy over there and drag it over here, and
Yeah.
now, modulate those effects into,
That's legit.
it's wild and fun and wacky. Finding the project that can come out on is sometimes a little harder.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I might be that guy. I might be like,
Yeah,
let's
do it.
fuck with something.
Let's do it.
The tube
TTE.
take, what a cool piece of gear that
It's wonderful.
I feel like every studio wants but can't quite have.
Yeah, but they're not outrageous. I think I bought that used, for sub $1,000.
Yeah.
So like it's not. I mean, yeah, it's a one-trick pony, but
It's a cool one trick
it's
pony.
a really. I mean, it gets used all the time.
Yeah.
So no, I absolutely adore it.
Do you ever run stuff through it without the echo just to get the vibe from it?
Not as often, but I don't know why I wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's like it just distorts. That tube preamp is really cool
Yeah.
for distortion.
It's legit.
Yeah.
And then what do we have here? These guys.
The Altec, the 1567As, yeah, 1567. So the funny story about those is like, I got them in college. So all of this started back in college, where I was like, I'm going to be a recording engineer.
Which was where?
OCU, just right down the street.
Wow, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Oklahoma City, not Oklahoma Christian. But so yeah, the guy that I was working with, he and I had this dream, and he knew somebody who was selling them out of a church for $100. That's, yeah, get the church money, kids.
Yeah.
So like, this shit it's incredible. So, I mean, now they're worth a lot more than that. But even then, like, they're just so cool. They're so vibey, and yeah, they're awesome. So one of them was busted, and so this all back to this crazy college stuff. I was in this band, and the guitar player, and dear friend of mine, I was like, "Look, man, you could just have this one. It's busted if you want to fix it." And he was like, "Cool." And it was one of the transformers was busted, and so he just bought a new transformer, slammed it in.
Yep.
Off you go, because it's those removable peerless transformers. And when we opened last year, he sent it back to me, and it was just like, ugh.
Oh yeah,
but,
that's
it was so cool.
that's like
Yeah.
some people might not understand how much of a gift that is.
Oh my God, yeah.
So
Well, and it's just like it's always stayed in the family,
Yeah.
And I always try to do that with gear, with people. It's like, if I'm going to sell it to you, it's in the family, and it's like, if you're going to sell it, everyone has first right of refusal to who it came back from, and I'd always bugged him. I was like, man, you didn't sell it, right? You didn't sell it.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to sell it.
Well,
and he just wasn't doing as much anymore.
Yeah.
He's gone on and done different things, and
I think that is such a kind.
it was one of the
Loving.
kindest things.
That's a very loving thing to do.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of a family. I'm here hoping to eventually be a part of this family.
You're
so.
already a part of the family.
Hey, yes. Yeah, man, this is amazing. We have so much to cover. I'm really curious. Is there anything else in here that you're like, oh, you got to see this?
I mean, the thing that I'm most proud of in this room is the thing you're leaning on. Like that piece of wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Built by you and your dad, right?
My dad and I built it.
So
We designed
cool.
it and built it.
What kind of wood is this?
It's walnut.
It's beautiful.
So part of it is solid walnut. The other part is it's not. It's a laminated walnut. But yeah, if we it's amazing what you can do with just like. Again, I was saying this kind of before we started, but like, my parents they're amazing people who are just infinitely creative and talented. And so when I'm sitting here thinking about studio furniture, you can look at the Argosies and the Sterlings of the world, and they make amazing stuff. But one, it wasn't that flexible, and two, they cost an arm and a leg.
They're very expensive.
We built this for like $500.
What?
Yeah,
Out of a walnut?
Out of walnut.
No less. Wow.
yeah. So it's one of those like, okay, if you could figure out how to take measurements, and I mean, and yeah, it was pretty complex. Don't get me wrong, but it's one of one in the world, right? And it looks beautiful. It adds to the space. I'm just really super proud of it. And yeah, my dad's amazing. My mom's amazing. They're just
This is really cool.
really cool.
It's really kind of cool to see you talk, because I can tell there's an emotion.
Oh yeah.
There's a deep.
But this whole space, like
yeah.
how am I? Yeah, now I'm getting emotional thinking about it. But it's like, this place is amazing for all the reasons that it's amazing in and of itself. But as a project, like to have built it with it's just it's really cool.
I think that's something that a lot of, like myself and a lot of people watching,
Sure.
that's like the dream level type of like,
Yeah.
I want to spend 2 or 3 years building a space like this,
Yeah.
and then inhabiting it. And for those that can't be here and see the detail, you cannot see screws. There are no
Screws.
Yeah. There's no
it's glued and
joints,
shot
right?
together. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
God, it's gorgeous, man. How heavy is it?
it's not light.
Okay, yeah, I figured.
Yeah, but it's modular. So this top part comes off from the bottom bit.
Yeah.
And so it can come out into sections, and the top thing, puts it all together. But yeah.
And something else that I find really interesting about your space is you seem to do a really good job at climate control. That seems important in this space.
It has to be. I've got analog gear.
Yeah.
It's funny because we'll be in here and people are like, "Can you turn? It's like really cold." I was like, "I don't care about you."
Yeah.
There's tubes and stuff
Yeah.
and this stuff can't get hot. So this room is really climate controlled, and it dictates everything else. So everything else is the Ecobee, Ecobee. One of them.
Somebody comment. I don't know.
Yeah, let me know. I don't care. But that's been huge. So that allows me to actually dictate how it's going to happen. So that's why that room is a lot colder and that room's colder, but this one stays right.
Cool.
So yeah.
Last question.
Yeah.
How are you using this Aventone?
So it's just mono. It's great. So I got my mains, and then there's the Proax, and then when I go to this guy, the small 2.
Is it just
I've
to
already
check mono
summed it.
compatibility, or is it?
No, I'm mixing mono a lot.
Okay, cool.
Like a lot. Yeah.
What's the benefit of mixing in mono for those of us who don't do that?
Well, there's so much to be gleaned from what's happening in mono. Your kick, bass, and vocal balance. One of them. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me is really trying to figure out how everything sits, because you're going to get that. I mean, everything in the center is going to get that bump from mixing to mono, but you still have to know where the guitars are. In like, if somebody's listening on their phone, yeah, it's stereo coming out of something that's this big. It might as well be mono. So like, at some point, you still have to understand what that is. And I know a lot of people in modern, I guess, like laptop work and stuff like that aren't doing that because they don't have the option to do it. But it's so helpful, like just to see like basic translation, how it's going to come out on a TV, a phone, somebody's Bluetooth device, whatever. Like all of that, it's all fake stereo. So it's like at some point, it's really, really important. And these things are cheap.
Yeah, you can find those used 200.
That's what I did.
$300.
I think I paid like $175, like nothing.
There you go.
Yeah, from Guitar Center, like just ship it to me, dude. And then I built the cable to do the summing, and that was it.
What's the cable?
It's just so it comes out stereo off the desk, and then it goes into this guy mono. So it's just you have to put some resistors in line. Yeah. And some. At that point.
I'm gonna have to get with you on that when I do it, because now I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, you should.
I've been meaning to for a while.
You should.
And I'm curious, do you mix in mid-side ever?
Well, I use mid-side processing.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know much about it, which is why I ask.
Yeah.
And again, for people that can't see, your cable management's pretty wonderful.
It's okay. Yeah,
that's what everybody.
It's okay. I wish it looked better. Don't look back there. But there's that one piece of like rebar on the back where we hook the thing so everybody can tie off. So it just takes the strain relief off the cables on the back of the desk. But,
I think it looks good, personally.
Well, thank you.
Did you do all the wiring yourself?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
I've built enough studios now that it's one of those like, I'll just wire it.
Yeah.
Like while all the XLRs, everything is just like, I'd rather do it and know that I did it. And if something's wrong, I don't have to be like, fucking Mogami. Like, I don't have to worry about that. It's like, oh, I made a mistake. Cool. Not that cable. I'll fix it tomorrow. Yeah.
I like it. I love your approach to so much of this. Well, let's check out the live room.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
I love it.
Well, let's just walk.
I'm going to grab my tea.
Yeah, grab your tea. I'll grab my tea.
I have pretentious tea. I feel bad.
Pretentious tea is the only tea I drink.
Okay, good.
Pretentious tea, pretentious coffee. That mug is pretentious as hell.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I got a straw. Like it's. I love this stuff. It's yerba mate. I sound pretentious saying it.
Yerba mate is the like if you're trying to kick coffee.
Is it?
Yeah,
I've never had coffee.
It's pretty high in the
Never.
It's pretty high. Yerba mate is pretty high in caffeine.
It's super high in caffeine. Gets me jazzy.
Here we go. So this is my first time coming in here.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Ooh, this upright.
1965 Kauai.
Have you ever felted it?
No, but we're talking about it. So me and the tuner, he's like, man. He's like, it's in really good shape, but we should probably felt it. And I was like, yeah. But it's like a 2-day process.
I know. I think that
I gotta shut the studio down for 2 days.
I think you'll love it if you do it.
Of course I'll love it.
Yeah.
I know I'll love it. But it's one of those like I gotta shut the studio down for 2 days.
Let's go on vacation.
Yeah, let's just do that in COVID. Yeah, let's just go on vacation during
that's
COVID.
Fair. Yeah, for those of you watching in 2027, we're living through a pandemic. Yeah. So.
And I just got my shot.
Me too.
Yeah. So that thing's amazing. I got that at Edward Music. I think it's a funny story. Nobody else can think it's a funny story.
Let me hear it.
The loud tuner at the moment.
Well, but it's got a really nice
it's vibey.
timbre.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it definitely has a thing. So I went to Larson's first. These are all local music stores. It doesn't matter. So I went to Larson's. They're a Yamaha dealer. So I was looking for a U1, but I wanted to use U1, and I was like, I didn't want to pay for a U1. That was the real deal. So I was seeing what they had in the used thing, and the guys at Larson's were awesome, but they didn't have anything. So then I went to Edmund Music. The guys there were pushy about showing me newer stuff, because I walked in and said I want it used, and I don't care what it looks like. All I care is how it sounds and if it's vibey. And so he kept showing me new stuff, and I was like, dude, I don't care. And I was like, what's up with the one in the back? The only one you haven't shown me was that. And he was like, oh, that's a piano for people who don't care what they look like. I said, then you haven't been listening to me all day, have you? And it's fine. And it was cheap, boy.
Tell me.
It was $2,000 shipped.
Come on.
$2,000 shipped with the tuning.
Dang, bro.
So yeah, and it was awesome. So and it kills. It sounds amazing on record. And everybody who plays it goes, oh, this is vibey.
Oh man, the moment I touched it, I was like,
Yeah.
because most uprights kind of have a tendency to be kind of bright.
Yeah, this one isn't.
Yeah.
But it's 1965, and it's been played by a single family forever. So it was one of those, it didn't go through a lot of hands.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of hands played it, but not, there weren't a million, didn't go from house to house to house to house to house. It was super loved, and it was super played.
It feels really good too.
Yeah, so I need to get it felted. I know.
You need.
Well,
Debatable.
The cost of felt, it's what I paid for the thing.
Oh, whoa. Okay, I didn't know. Is that?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
really
whoops.
expensive.
Well.
So it's like, I get it, and in time, but yeah, it needs kind of like a full overhaul if it's going to be for the next 10 years, going to be played at that level. So it'll happen next year and a half.
Well, there's my ignorance.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was going to be such a.
It's a big deal. Yeah, I got to shut down for 2 days and then pay an exorbitant amount of money.
Dang.
Sorry, it's a mess in here.
So I see a theremin, I see an organ, I see
The M3,
a
the Leslie, the 88 Rhodes, and then the newest acquisition is the Wurlitzer. I got that from Kyle Reed, right?
I don't.
Oh, Kyle's the Norman guy is amazing, just amazing songwriter, and
There's so many amazing people that I've yet to meet.
it's Oklahoma.
Yeah, which is interesting to me. We have so many cool studios in such a small radius. Yep. Like Blackwatch is kind of like
incredible.
A huge deal,
Yeah.
but you walk in there, you're just like, it's just a vibe.
It's a vibe.
It's just a total
100%.
vibe. It's not.
Yep.
I say it's not pretentious. I believe that, but I
don't think it's pretentious at all.
Okay, good.
It's a working studio. It's just like people get in and you're ready to work.
I love
It's
the
awesome.
diffuser that they have above the drum kit.
Oh, yeah.
This big. I think it's so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. That whole place is wonderful, and Chad and Jared do an amazing job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how high is this ceiling?
It's 12.
And I'm assuming you did that on purpose to get.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, a bit of a
that was
bigger
intentional,
sound.
which is why the building looks weird with its really tall roof.
Yeah.
Or the roof, the angle on the roof is really high, and it was because of this. Yeah.
Well, it worked. So you have a place that you tend to put your room mic or mics?
No.
Cool.
Yeah.
I
It's
like
just whatever
that
sounds
answer.
good. It depends on what we're doing. Drums have kind of been in this area for a minute, and I've just been lazy and haven't broken them down the last couple of days because I got another drum session tomorrow. So it's one of those we'll keep them up.
Did you build the baffles yourself too, the gobos?
So these two gobos I got at the same time I got the theremin. There was a school that was it McNally Smith up in Minneapolis, St. Paul. It was this giant recording school, and it went belly up, and it was kind of one of those models. I taught at ACM, so it's it was one of the models for everybody doing production, and they had some IRS stuff locked the doors sort of thing. So I went to that
Like an
auction.
auction?
Yeah. So I got the baffles for nothing. I got these insane, wonderful mic stands.
Yeah, these are great.
Well, they cost you
That's insane.
they're an arm and a leg, and that's not what I paid for them. And so it's it's great because nobody wanted to haul them. And I was like,
Did you drive up with a trailer or something?
Yeah, I flew up there and then I just got a U-Haul and just came back with whatever we got. I got most of the insulation because it was just bulk.
Wow.
So I was buying just 703 in bulk.
Wow.
So it was great. So it was a great way to save a lot of money.
So this goes back to the resourcefulness. If you were planning on building a studio, if you know what you're looking for,
Sure.
just keep your ear to the ground.
100%.
And start because there are deals to be made every day.
Yeah, and it's not just this is the deal that's on Sweetwater. No.
Look everywhere.
Everywhere,
Yeah.
all the time, and that was maybe a once in a century sort of
Right.
like thing where that giant facility with had what 6 studios in it, and they had SSLs and all of them. It was crazy, and so like that theremin was on the workbench. I didn't buy the theremin; I bought the workbench. Right, because it literally was like doors are shut, and they just put numbers on stuff. And so I bought the workbench, and it had a D12. It had all the tools for what, $150. Wow. So it doesn't matter, but it's one of those like, it's just you gotta be looking.
Yeah.
And it was well attended, not necessarily in person, but online. So like we were bidding against people who were trying to pay MSRP for stuff, which was crazy.
Yeah.
Because they didn't realize there's another 15-18% that gets added at the end. So yeah, there's a lot of, and I got to be friends with the auctioneers. They're like, hey, this guy bounced on this thing. You want it? And I was like,
Oh, dude.
because I was there every day.
Yeah.
And so I got to know them, and they're like, yeah, this guy isn't going to do this.
Well, that's a cool story too.
Yeah.
You got to go to how long ago was this?
2 years ago.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Minneapolis.
why you need friends like Michael, because they're the type of people like Jaron Nix is the king of finding deals.
And he's a flipper like crazy.
It's nuts, dude. It's nuts.
He doesn't hold on to anything more than like 3 months.
Well, I think he's better than Adam Chamberlain.
Oh, does Adam flip a lot too?
Oh my gosh. Well, Adam's gone all.
He's got headphones.
He's gone all headphones.
I know. Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he had all this gear. He was getting new gear like every month. I felt like.
Yeah.
I was getting texts from him. Hey, you want? It's
you
like,
want a
bro,
thing?
I'm not in that league yet, bro.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's incredible.
He shot some photos in here recently. He's
Yeah.
amazing photographer as well.
he's a mastering engineer here in Oklahoma City. I'm gonna link anything I say here. There'll be links below.
Yeah.
Before we get further into
Sure.
this, you've got a pretty cool story about some records that you've worked on.
Sure.
And I was talking to you specifically about some
The Coldplay record.
Coldplay stuff that you worked on in the past, because you were in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear
Those
that
are Looking
story.
Glass Studios.
Looking
yeah.
Glass Studios.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I got, so that was probably the biggest record I worked on there, that and a Counting Crows record. Those were big, and then obviously the Philip Glass stuff, and
Wait, hold on.
other random
Hold
stuff.
on, hold on. You worked on Philip Glass stuff?
Looking Glass Studios.
Okay, I thought you said Philip Glass.
I did.
Wait, hold on.
It's a Looking Glass.
It's his studio.
Glass is the same thing, yeah.
It's his studio.
It's his place, yeah.
Hold on. So I don't mind looking like a noob at all. I have no problem. So I did not know that Looking Glass was
Yeah, that was Philip's spot.
So do you know Philip Glass?
Not like that.
Okay, but
I couldn't call Phil and be like,
but
hey
you've
man. Philip he was a very, very sweet man.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't there, like he owned and ran it kind of like from afar, because he was busy being a classical artist.
Right.
Yeah.
But you met him.
Yeah, multitudes of times. Yeah.
Wow.
He's getting up there.
That's a
We're not
pretty
gonna
big
have
deal.
Philip for too much longer, and
Well, thanks to Philip Glass for his contributions to.
Well, to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think about that guy all the time. And I'm not even a classical music guy, but like crazy about it. But like, I just think about his use of just arpeggios and how that's changed everything.
Yeah.
In modern music, it's amazing. He's just he's an icon.
Do you have somewhere that you would point people to that have never heard of Philip Glass?
God, there's so much. There's
going to
absolutely.
be.
I mean, there's all the Koyaanisqatsi and all that stuff. It's really intense and film driven. I mean, there's so many pieces. Like a lot of the etudes, I really like. It's a little more stripped down and just piano etudes, and those are really beautiful.
Great.
Orange Mountain Music is the record label where everything comes out of. So, yeah. The connection to me working at Looking Glass was I worked for Orange Mountain first. And so I was it's right when I moved to New York. And so it's like one of 4 jobs I was holding down. And I was just the shipping guy. So I'd go in 4 CDs are going out today. We got to get them. So I'd go pack them up and take inventory and kind of manage all that stuff. And then they hired the right guy for the job, right? Who could do all the other stuff. Mm-hmm. And when that happened, they were like, hey, we got to let you go. And I was like, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Because Richard Guerin, who runs it over there now, he's amazing. And so my whole point of moving to New York was to work at the Looking Glass. It's the reason I moved there.
Wow.
You know, it's like I was chasing a girl to some extent, right? But when I got there, that's the one place that I wanted to work.
That's some brass.
It's crazy. So like I went in to have the interview at Orange Mountain not knowing it was in the same building as the Looking Glass. And then they shared the same offices, the same everything. So yeah, I show up like an idiot in a suit, you know, because I don't know what I'm doing. You know, I'm like 22 or whatever. And yeah, so when I got let go there, I just walked down to the studio manager's office. And it's funny, my buddy Brian Bender I was telling you about earlier, he had just left the assistant position, the house guys, and he went to go work for Electric Lady. And so like on the same day, like it was so kismet, it was crazy. And so Christian, the manager, he said, yeah, you start tomorrow. Wow. It was nuts, you know. And so, yeah, it all kind of worked out in this amazing sort of way. And I'm eternally grateful for that place.
Yeah.
Eternally grateful.
Because it really set a trajectory for you.
Everything I do based on the work and mindset that I acquired from that
It's
place.
unbelievably valuable.
Yeah.
So one of the records that you worked on there was a Coldplay
Right, the
record.
Coldplay, sorry.
No, that was a great caveat.
Yeah. So yeah, the Coldplay record, that just happened. It was just booked. And I was the house guy. I was the lead house guy. So I'm on the gig. So it was nuts. And we were talking about it earlier, but it was this weird mix of like, they're tracking, they're mix prepping, they're mixing, they're working on arrangements. You know, it was weird. Like the first couple days, nobody was there, but the engineer and me just making sure he was comfortable. And that was it. And they're kind of like, okay, well, something's gonna happen. Like, hey, we need you to take this hard drive to Andy Wallace. And I was just like, I'm sorry, what? He's down at another studio. Just take this hard drive to Andy Wallace. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah, no big deal.
I didn't get to meet Andy, but it's like I got to hand it to his assistant, and
Yeah.
I was just like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just a huge fan of him and his work. I mean, yeah, if for nothing else, grace from Jeff Buckley. I mean, it's just powerhouse guy. Anyway, so he was mixing the record, and then the guys came in. We started working on a song called Strawberry Swing, and that's kind of where that credit comes from. So I was there for the beginning tracking of that song, and coming up from iPhone demos and splicing them together, and it was nuts. They were working on a laptop that was driving, like the engineer's laptop was running Logic that was driving tools, and it was wild.
That's
it was
kinda
really
neat.
cool. Yeah, it was really, really cool and a really different kind of workflow, and they were just really. And Chris was pretty much the only one there between him and the producer and the engineer, and yeah, just very passionate person, just very wonderful, and yeah, it was a blast. It was a real blast to work on.
It sounds like such a fun thing to get to work with like mega creatives.
Right.
I was really, I love Coldplay.
Yeah.
And I was really happy to hear that you said like he was like real locked in. He was
Super locked.
Working on this thing really
Yeah,
hard.
I mean, like it was like he was staring into space playing that harmonium, and it was crazy. It was really powerful to watch, because I'm on the couch. If you're him, I'm just sitting here like it was nuts.
Yeah.
And like, and he's just locked. He's somewhere else, and by the end of it, you're just going, fuck. Okay, that just happened.
Yeah.
You know, wow. You know.
So I'm curious when it comes to stuff like this, like there had to be a first moment where you worked with an artist that you were just like palms are sweaty, like maybe a little nervous.
I mean, I'm nervous every time we start a record.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's. Can you remember back like one where you were like, oh my god, I'm like, I don't want to fuck this up, or
It's everyone.
Okay.
I mean, I think so, because no one has. I mean, yeah, whether it's some punk rock band out of their basement who's just trying to come up, or it's Chris Martin from Coldplay, it doesn't make any difference. Like, you have to treat each person with that amount of respect, because you never know who's going to be on the other end of that microphone.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's really wonderful, and sometimes it's really not. But each one's different.
Yeah.
You know, so you may be talking to the next Chris Martin. You don't know.
Yeah.
So the best thing you can do is just be prepared and be open and ready for all of it to happen.
So you're doing such a service to an artist when you treat them all equally.
I try to.
As you know, like this is important. This art that they're making is important, not only to them, but to me in this moment.
Yeah.
I'm here to help them achieve what they really, really want to achieve.
Right. I mean, being dismissive about it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help me. You know, and there are moments that happens because we're human,
Yeah.
you know, so you're just like, I don't know, I mean, that part sucks or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know, but it's like, it probably doesn't. I'm just not hearing it the same way that they're hearing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes long and hard to learn how to listen from somebody else's perspective or to just be aware of their emotional input on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I love these. I love breaking away from the gear talk sometimes to talk about the...
Because, yeah, that stuff doesn't matter.
Well, it's like, it's cool and it's fun. It's a reason why a lot of people are going to click on this video. But
Sure.
this is like really valuable. The aspect of like being a creative, being an engineer,
Sure.
that's somebody that's like working with an artist to help them fulfill a vision. Like,
Sure.
that's so important. And I love your heart behind it.
Well, I mean, it's the reason I get up in the morning to go to work. Like, I don't do it because it's exciting to play with microphones, you know? Like, that's just a tool. And that's one of the great things I learned from a guy who taught me more or less everything, James Brown. Not the artist, the engineer, producer guy, but worked with James forever. And he doesn't give a shit about gear. And it took me a while to understand why. Because as a kid, you know, you're like, oh, and there's an 1176 and an even, blah, blah, blah. And who cares? Who cares? It's just a tool. I got to get that guy recorded onto that machine. So we'll do it and we'll make it sound great. You can make a record, an incredible record of 57s. You just got to want to.
57s get referenced a lot on this channel.
They should. It's one of the best microphones ever.
And you can find them for 40, 50, 60 bucks a pop.
All day long.
All day long.
All day long. And then if you're like bored of that sound, take the transformer out.
Don't you? Somebody was telling
It's
me
really cool.
Somebody was telling me that you really, really lean heavily towards dynamic mics anyway.
I mean, the whole kit is mic'd with dynamic mics, with the exception of
The Coles?
no, those are ribbons. And those are dynamic mic. The
Okay.
only two condensers are the rack tom and the kick out.
What's on the kick out there?
That's a FET 47
Nice.
or a Lawson FET 47.
And then that's an original D12, right?
That's the new one, the VR.
Oh, okay, cool. Wow, fooled me.
Well, I mean, the VR is cool. You know, Chad from Blackwatch got me hip to it.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it's cool. You can give it phantom power, have EQ curves built in, or you can turn it off and go completely passive.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's nice. You have a couple options of just tonal stuff, and then.
Is that an Octava?
Yeah, the Octava MCO12.
I've got the MKO12 or whatever you call them. I bought them.
So that's the MK or the MC. I think this is where I think the MK is correct because I got that from Guitar Center when there were those weird Chinese knockoff ones back, this was back in college. So I think that's what that is.
Dustin was telling me about
Yeah,
those.
I think that's what that one is. And
The
who
interchangeable
fucking cares?
capsules?
Yeah, the red capsules. They made those for a hot minute. And yeah, they're really hard to find now, which is weird, but I went to a tape-op con and they were just debuting those. This is back when tape-op cons were still going on, but this is like the first one in Arizona, and just going around the thing and meeting people. And I loved my MC or MKO12s, right? And then to have the additional capsule, and they were cheap. And so
Can you still find them, or are you?
they're real hard to find
Okay.
now. Or people will mod them.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you mod it? They do. So I've found a couple that are floating around that have been modded, and I'm not going to buy them because I don't trust somebody's soldering work on a capsule.
That's
initially.
fair.
It's like I just don't care enough. So those are cool. And so I mean, if in a perfect world, I'd put up a 414 there, but I don't really want someone to hit a 414. So
That's fair.
yeah. So I'm totally fine with that. It sounds great. These drums sound amazing. So it's just like yeah.
So I should hang on to mine.
I love them, and I know Dustin Ragland
He does.
loves
He's
them as
big
well.
time.
It's like
He likes to use them in mid-side with those.
Yep. He's got the larger diaphragm heads on them too. Yeah, they're awesome. I love them as a small pencil, sort of like a small diaphragm condenser.
I use them on acoustic a lot.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, man. I like a 57 on acoustic.
Well, yeah, that's the Beck trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they do for Beck a lot.
So Beck uses
the
a
artist.
57 on his acoustic.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
How do you know this?
It was Bender, my buddy Bender.
Okay.
I can't remember who he ran into. They were talking about it. He's like, oh yeah, I just put a 57 on it. I was like, okay. At least that's my understanding. Sorry, Beck, if you're out there and
Oh,
I'm
he's
wrong.
watching. Definitely watching.
Live. He's watching live. He's at the control room, by the way. But that's my understanding is that's what they do. Because it depends on how you're doing that sort of record, but if it's supposed to be like this big, chimey, like beautiful acoustic guitar sound, then that's not the mic for you.
Yeah.
But if it's supposed to be a shaker, that's the mic for you.
There you go.
And I use them a lot of times as shakers, so that's a wonderful mic for
I
them.
love it.
Yeah.
I love
It's pretty
it.
great.
I know there's like a plenty of gear to talk about, but I feel like we've covered everything I really want to talk about, because
Sure.
this channel's not just dedicated to gear. It's really dedicated to the people that make the stuff with the gear.
Sure.
Which is why I wanted to get in here in the first place. Here's
I'm
some of
so
your
glad you
stories. Oh, it's an honor, man.
This is great.
This is long overdue, and I feel
know.
like
I'm really great.
the nice thing about launching this YouTube channel, which like who cares,
Right.
but it kind of gives me like further credence to like get into some of these spaces.
Yeah.
It almost gives me a reason. I know that I could probably just be like, I'd love to check out your space. Can I come by and hang out?
100%.
But this is kind of killing two birds with one stone.
I know.
So
Everybody wins.
yeah.
It's a win-win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anybody that's trying to get in touch with you or a hold of you, like where do we go?
It's the website usually. So it's cardinalsongokc.com. The Instagram, the same Cardinal Song OKC.
Yeah,
I don't fuck with Twitter or Facebook.
that's probably wise.
Well, I just don't have time.
Yeah.
It's like I don't care. I
They're,
just don't care.
yeah, you can get lost in those two platforms, especially really easily.
Yeah.
And I do want to mention that you kind of followed your build process on your Instagram, right?
Did, yeah. So, and that was just kind of trying to find a way to jumpstart a way to, show things to people. And everyone wants to know how you build stuff. And I was like, well, it's not hard. You just got to figure out the 2 or 3 things you need to, a couple tools you need, and then try to be smart about it.
It is nice to have a reference.
Yeah.
And it gives me ideas for what I want to eventually build in the future.
And build on, and,
Yeah.
and do something bigger and better than what I did or anybody else. Because all this is just either shit I found, I've been watching people online like a hawk, and then being like, that's a cool idea, I'll take a picture of it. And then I'll go back and redesign it for myself. The same thing with the console desk. That's what that is.
Yeah.
It's looking at Sterling's design and going like, we can beat that.
Yeah.
And then we did, and it's fine. Same thing with all these baffles and everything else. It's just, look at what people do and then do it better.
I love it.
Always.
Man, this was such a blast.
It's awesome.
I loved getting to walk through this space and hear your stories, and I really do hope that somebody that's watching this does reach out, because you are.
I hope so.
Obviously, I haven't gotten to work with you yet.
Yet.
We're
gonna.
Yeah, I'm making a record. I'm making a lot of music right now.
Let's do it.
And I really do kind of want to cast a wide net. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can make some stuff work out.
I love it.
Yeah, dude.
Hey, brother.
Thanks so much, man.
This is awesome.
We're gonna stop rolling now, I guess.
Bye.
See ya.